Final episode of the season. Eve, man, what you gotta tell the people?
Well, it's heavy outside. It's snowing outside, but you know what? We're here to do this wrap up.
Yeah.
So let's do this, man.
Yeah, let me take my medicine as a Seahawk fan. Let's move on.
Mhm.
So it's now almost a week later. We're doing this, the Saturday after the Super Bowl. We had a reaction right after it. I guess we're gonna consider this kind of like final thoughts on the Super Bowl. We kind of rushed through it. Obviously, we want to get the raw emotions out from Sunday night. But Eve, I'll give the floor to you and give me your thoughts initially. What you thought of this game overall, and where you see the two teams going in the offseason.
Well, the game. Let's put it this way. I mean, it's still being talked about even until now. Even little, the shock of how it ended is still a shocker.
Exactly.
Because from a phonetic point of view, it was a very well played game.
Mm-hmm.
Very good strategic, very good coaching, very good back and forth. Great defense. You saw great defense, some defensive stands, but you also saw some clutch offensive work as well. Still bugged about the last play, like everybody. Let's give it up to the New England Patriots. Now, if it is now alleged, like if stuff goes down with them with this whole ball, this whole Deflate Gate stuff, then that puts a little bit of a sour disposition in the whole entire game. Again, Seattle had the chance, should have done it, should have ran the ball. No matter what anybody says, I think 99.99% of the nation, of the world, basically says, you did the wrong play. You know what I mean? So that's basically it.
Now I'm kind of stepping back from it 6 days later. When I really think about what I saw in the game, and it's been showing all week on NFL Network.
That's all they've been showing, bro.
I've been jumping. I see it there at certain points in the game, and I really, you always say in this case, you never lose the game on one play. And fair enough, I get that cliche and stuff like that. In this case, yeah, you did lose it on one play, but there's some other things that were going on that after watching some of the replays on it, I really have to wonder what the heck they were doing. I think I mentioned during the game we were watching it, we were wondering in this case here. I don't get the philosophy from Seattle's standpoint. From a standpoint of when you're trailing by 2 touchdowns against Green Bay, you ran the ball to get back in the game when you had less time on the clock and a much more desperate position.
Correct.
You're now pretty much up 10 because people forget they had the little wheel play or wherever that Lynch went zig while Wilson went zag that blew a play. The Lockett trip in this case, incidental or not.
Which could have been a penalty technically.
That's their key play as well too. And of course Brady hit that 3rd and 14. I think they Amendola kept their I said so at the time that kept their season alive.
Yeah,
and I said that was the game right there. I thought overall I felt that was going to end it for New England. But when I look at the philosophy of looking to try to hit deep balls all the time, I just did. I didn't get it one bit. I understand why we were doing this in the in the third, and definitely the fourth. It made no sense to me.
Well, let's put it this way: Bevel is rightfully taking licks the way that the offensive coordinator is taking rightfully licks the way that he should. I think he might have cost himself at least a job.
For sure.
What I mean? Because let's put it this way: the stuff that you hear out of Seattle was. You know what? That guy, he's always wanted to be cute for a long time. You know what I mean? And he's done a lot of stuff, especially when Harvin was there. And remember, he was the OC when the Vikings with Brett Favre was there with Harvin. That year so a whole bunch of stuff occurred on that. So again, it's a little tough. I mean, we can say it in hindsight, but man, Pete Carroll. I mean, I'm still stunned by it. I still think. No matter what, it's still a wrong play.
It's a wrong play. It's a wrong call. And when it's all said and done, I'm not even saying you had to run the ball down the throat every single play, but mix it up. They weren't even looking the Lynch in the fourth quarter. It made no sense. And on the final play, I will say this. I don't even mind so much of the pass play more I think about it. However, you had so many different options from pass play. I understand how, in this case, Luke Wilson was not even targeted in this game.
Right. And
That's a whole malpractice already for an offensive coordinator. I don't
I
get
think
that one.
I think we basically said that Wilson has to touch the ball because he has to
Right.
open up a whole bunch of
I
other.
said I thought he was my X factor in the game.
Right.
I understand how they don't look for him in the end zone. They didn't look for him all night. It would been the best time to look for him. Marshawn Lynch on out. If you look at the play there, it's pretty much he had 1-on-1 against whoever it was on the for New England. He's sitting out there just pretty much out there by island, by no pistol,
No help. Right.
nothing, no play action, which is another possibility. There's so many different ways that could have gone with that. I would have been taking the fade route to Matthews.
Well, I still think that okay, I'm going to be honest with you. When they did the bunch, and this is we said, we couldn't believe it just looking at the formation of the play.
Right, exactly.
Right, we're like,
what are they
you're not gonna do a bunch play right in the middle of right. You're gonna throw it in an inside slant.
Exactly. I mean, the kid made a great play because if you look at the replay, I mean, he closed the gap like no one's business.
But you know what? The funny part about it is that apparently him talking was basically he was getting beat like
on
that
play in practice, right?
I mean,
and Browner set it up for him, so he had a clean look at it. I just looked at the whole play as just a disaster for the moment. You know when you watch sports enough that you could feel when something's about to go wrong, and we sat there in the room.
We just felt it.
Yeah, and we're like, I don't like where this is going. Yeah, I didn't like where that play was going at all. I was like, what the heck are we doing? I'm like in panic.
I'm still bothered by the fact that you know what you're supposed to do a fade. I think you're supposed to do a fade in that. Like if you're gonna throw it, you throw a fade, and then you still get yourself another chance.
Right, exactly. Something that's gonna go out of the end zone. Something.
Come on, man. It has to be. You can't flick. I don't care whose arm it is. I don't care if it's Rodgers. No.
A naked bootleg. There's so many different
so many options out of there. That was just crazy. And
the best running quarterback in the league, and arguably the best running back in the league, and you don't even think about using them to play in some ways, a decoy or nothing. No, we're gonna go to our third receiver. That's what we're gonna do.
But you know what? Yeah, the point I was just making was basically in the top, like they were asking Brady at the end of the game with the voice from the NFL Network, would you have done that? What would you have done if that play call was called? He just had this nice little sly smile. He said, yeah, man, I probably would have overridden it. And he goes, but I was surprised that they made that play. He goes, I was surprised that was the play that they called. And, you know, all the other quarterbacks that, you know, just drop little things like saying, oh, they would have overrode the OC on that and called something else right then and there, which is a little bit surprising to me, too, that Wilson didn't have that option because he said it himself.
Yeah, sometimes we forget the dude's like a third-year quarterback.
I hear you.
Right? So we say, you know, he's been in so many big games already. It seems like he's been around a lot longer. You know, but he's a third-year quarterback was all said and done, and he'll learn that over time, too. But, I just think, I think it's come down to it's on the offensive coordinator on Pete Carroll when it's all said and done. So, power to New England. Brady played great. I thought Edelman should have been the MVP personally, but fair enough. Pretty much nowadays you pretty much have to go out there and run through a wall in this case to become an MVP for a skill position or any other position besides the quarterback. So it's ridiculous nowadays. But nonetheless, we'll move on from there, man. Let's get into part two of this discussion, man.
For sure.
So in part two of this discussion, we're just gonna wrap it up here, just as a kind of a nice bow on the season. Overall thoughts of the season. Wow, what a season! I'll take lead on this one, man. It started off bad from the Hall of Fame game, and it seemed to just get worse and worse. And I think this year is the first year where the bloom's kind of off the rose for the NFL. I mean, we've always said it's been the Teflon league to get away with so many things that so many other leagues can't get away with, such as drug policy issues in baseball versus football. When it comes to this case of how players are perceiving the NBA when it comes to race and stuff like that, NFL doesn't seem to impact them one bit when it comes to that. Even with hockey in this case, when it comes to violence, and concussions, hockey was even taking more of a hit for a little while before football. Eric Lindros and all sorts of stuff like that for years before football. They caught about football with that. So I think it's been getting chipped away, and all of a sudden it's just pretty much like an iceberg. At some point, the avalanche happened, and it happened this year. We've been saying this for years. These dudes here is all about it's all about the bottom line in this case. I mean, I just sit there and chuckle to myself from a sarcastic laugh. Nothing funny about it, but more like folks are now waking up to this. I mean. The
We've only been
Cincinnati
saying it for like the
Bengals,
last,
right?
you've only been seeing it for like the last 10 to 15
15
years.
years. I go 20 years. I mean,
20 years, yeah, even 20,
The
25 years,
Bengals
even when
alone can have a
Even
diary on
Tagliabue
it.
was the commissioner.
Right. The Bengals get a diary on this. I mean,
Fine.
on their players alone. But I think leadership is in desperate need in this league. I mean, as long as Goodell's making these dudes money, I think this is a fool's errand. Because I think he's going to take all of them down when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, you can go keep chasing that money, but it's going to end up costing you more money when it's all said and done. And something's going to happen. I don't know if it's this year or next year or whatever it's going to be, where Goodell's going to be in the middle of something and it's going to be like, there's going to be no turning back. So that's my thoughts of the year. I hope they figure out their policy situation on how to handle things by the time next season starts. Not just with spousal abuse or anything like that, but all sorts of array of different situations, including Deflategate, which still hasn't been dealt with.
how to deal and how to close that out with Deflategate. That's just a bow on top of the season. Mark Cuban was really spot on. I think 2 seasons ago or last year when he basically said the NFL the golden goose is going to burst on the NFL, and when he called it, everybody was saying all kind of, like, people were like blasting Cuban and saying, "Oh, what you talking about? Oh, he's just a jealous guy because he didn't get in the NFL." Nah, man, because he said, "Look, you know what? When you're getting as fat as they are, getting the cash that they are, you know what? You develop." And this is from a rich man saying that. He said when you start developing a whole bunch of ego and you think that you're impenetrable, nothing can happen, you can do everything well, and you can just slide everything. Not anymore.
No.
The league this year, as you just said, the void of leadership has been so apparent this year. It is unbelievable what has happened. Right now, Goodell is just I call him Screwdell for a reason, because I just think that he's been a fraud from the whole entire time. Yeah, he makes the league a lot of money, but you know what? When it comes down to basic common sense stuff, like when him being a hard ass on all the players, he should have been using that same exact mantra and hurling it upon himself. Yeah. And unfortunately, that has not happened this season.
And folks, let's put it this way. I know we're gonna get comments maybe about this, like, look how much money in the ratings and stuff like that. Yeah, right now everything looks good at the top, but so I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. As the old slide has, the PowerPoint slide you see there, it's the bottom part. What's below, in this case, the tip of the iceberg, is where things are going to start showing. It's not going to show in the ratings. It's not going to show in the money that's coming in right now. But when you see Pop Warner, kids' involvement in participation rates when it comes to football at a young age, it's already starting to decline in this case here. That's where you're going to start feeling the pain in about 15, 20 years. When that top athlete that used to go to college football is now going to soccer, is now going to basketball, and he's like saying, you know what, I'm straight. I don't need football for this. And, and you were mentioning a point offline about concussions, so, you tell me.
Yeah, like the thing about the concussions, remember, there's that big lawsuit that the NFL has from the former players. How many times have we heard that this case was supposed to have been settled with a dollar amount? The judge, again, for like the third or fourth time.
The money.
That's the money. But the third or the fourth time, the judge basically told the NFL, this is not enough.
Well, that drug lawsuit hasn't come through yet either.
It hasn't come through yet as well.
The doctors as well, too. There's so many things that are sitting with some huge pending lawsuits. So I mean, it sounds preposterous to think like, 50, 60, 70 years is football going to be around. It's like, oh yeah, football will be around. Yeah, you know what? It may be around, but not be the way if you see it today. Right. I mean, you got to really think about that. One time boxing was the number one sport in America. Okay? Think about that, folks. Okay, one time a boxing match used to get numbers, something like what we're seeing now in Super Bowls. That used to be the biggest event going in sports. A championship, heavyweight championship fight. So keep that in mind in this case here when you see what's going on. Things could change really fast in this case when it comes to sports. But anyways, all this bad news, there was some great stuff on the field, some entertaining stuff. There's going to be some serious plot lines happening over the summer. I'm sure some big deals. I suspect some big deals are going to happen over the summer.
Better.
I'm sure if we hear some gigantic deals come down the pike, we'll be on it. We'll be there for it. But Eve, just want to thank you so much for being part of the show and being part of the network this year. We've been doing some guest stuff beforehand. We talked about doing this, and it's been fun. It's been a pleasure, my man, doing this with you. And definitely hope to be doing this next year. I mentioned to you guys earlier on, we're going to be doing a draft show coming up in a few
That's
months
right.
when the draft happens. Is post draft. We'll discuss kind of,
That's right.
we'll break down who did well, who didn't do well, and so, some off season stuff as well too. Just to kind of give you a roundup to set you off for the free agency market. But for sure, we'll be back at the kickoff of next season. And it's been a blast, and we got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe for Beyond the Locker Room. Keep checking us out. Keep subscribing to us above. Keep your comments coming below, man. Any final words from you, my friend? That's all you got to say.
Good people, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, that's it. Good people, it's been a great pleasure. And you see y'all, we'll be doing some big things.
Yeah, for sure, man. And man, for the last time for this season, in this case, where can the good folks find you?
You can find me at Y Charlem.
And they can find me, as always, at Beyond Locker Room, short for RM. Once again, folks, take it easy, be safe, peace.